The next lineup from Vivo has always had something unique about it. Right from the Vivo Nex and its all-screen display to the Vivo Nex Dual and its dual screens, Vivo has not been afraid to take risks and push boundaries with the Vivo Nex series, and the next three, it's no different here. So what has Vivo done this time? Well, let's find out. Hey guys, Ash here from C4eTech, and if you do find this video interesting, please consider turning on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. The Vivo Nex 3 comes in this interesting box. We have this Nex logo to the front with a plastic piece that looks kinda like the phone's rear camera cutout. Turning it over to the back, we have a sticker that gives us some regular information, including the color variant. This one's called Glowing Night, by the way. Removing the lid does that rear camera design again. Flipping it open, first thing inside the box is the Vivo Nex 3. Let's get it out and peel the cover off. There's a protector to the back too. Let's remove that. Turning it around, the screen curves sharply to the sides and there are no physical buttons here. Anyway, we'll come back to all that later. For now, let's take a look at what else is there in the box. We have a fast charger, no Indian plug since this is a global unit. We also have a pair of in-ear earphones and there is a case for the Nex 3. It seems to have a nice textured finish. Let's pop the phone into it. From this angle, it kinda looks like the OnePlus 7T, doesn't it? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, we then have a SIM ejector pin, some paperwork, and finally a white USB Type-C cable. With the box contents done, let's now get back to the Nex 3 and take a closer look. Now what catches everyone's attention first? That's gotta be this display. It curves right down to the edges. It reminds me of the Note Edge. That's how sharp the curves are. The panel also stretches from the top to the bottom of the phone, and the bezels here are probably the thinnest I've ever seen. All in all, this 6.89-inch POLED display is quite something. Vivo calls it the Waterfall Full View display, and they've integrated a few cool features into the sloping edges, like this music visualizer that turns on while playing songs with the screen switched off, or this lighting effect for incoming phone calls. We tried watching some content and the way the display flows along the edges gives the center of the screen a 3D-like floating effect. Initial impressions, I really like what I'm seeing here. With a screen that melds into the edges, Vivo didn't have space to put traditional physical buttons, so instead they went with capacitive ones. The power button, it has a textured finish to it and it should make it easy to find. Now they work quite well and the haptic feedback, or as Vivo calls it, True Sense, it's quite good. But it is gonna take some getting used to, especially when using it in landscape orientation. I kind of kept hitting the power button instead of volume down multiple times, and even the virtual volume button, the option that Vivo actually gives, it wasn't of much help for me. The technology itself, it's cool and all, but it isn't as close to the feel of a physical button press as Apple is with their Taptic Engine either. You know, that isn't a great solution, but this doesn't even get that close. In my humble opinion. Now enough about buttons though, let's now take a look at the device itself. Now despite the so-called lack of space, Vivo still managed to include a headphone jack up top, so kudos to Vivo there. There is also a pop-up selfie camera here apart from a physical power key and a secondary mic. The left is left clean, pun unintended. And finally to the bottom we have the speaker grill, primary mic and a single SIM card tray. So no dual SIM, no micro SD. Coming to the internals, we have the top of the line Snapdragon 855 Plus at the heart of this phone. There's 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of UFS 3.0 storage. So when it comes to performance, Funtouch OS 9.1 on the Vivo Nex 3, it simply flies. As I've mentioned multiple times before, Funtouch OS, despite being built on top of Android 9 Pie, it's got pretty much nothing in common with the stock Android interface. But don't just write it off because it feels unfamiliar. Sure, the control center and the lack of an app drawer might take some getting used to, but when it comes to features, Funtouch OS is packed to the brim. There's Jovi, which is Vivo's AI assistant. Then we have multi-turbo functionality that uses AI to speed up various system functions. And of course, Ultra Game Mode. Speaking of games, pretty much anything we tried running ran smoothly here, as expected of a phone with the Snapdragon 855 Plus inside. Now, the Snapdragon 855 Plus a nearly 7-inch screen, Now that's going to be hard on the battery, right? To combat that, Vivo's got quite a healthy 4500 mAh battery here, and that does add to the weight, but the overall heft goes pretty nicely with the premium glass build here. The Nex 3, it feels good in hand, but it's definitely not something that was designed for single-hand use. Now there are some more features of the Nex 3 that we weren't able to test out, like 5G. Yep, the global version of the Nex 3 is 5G powered, but since we don't have 5G in India yet, I wasn't able to test that out. Vivo also offers a superior audio experience through the headphone jack thanks to a dedicated hi-fi audio chip. Plugging in a decent pair of headphones and watching a good HDR video, the media experience was excellent. Now this display also has an embedded fingerprint scanner that works as expected, quite fast, and the face unlock, it is present, it is fast and accurate, but we can only use it if the in-display fingerprint sensor fails 3 times. We've seen this before on the Vivo V17 Pro. I guess that's how Vivo is reducing this strain given the motorized nature of the selfie camera. Fair enough, I guess. While on the topic of cameras, the primary rear camera is a 64 megapixel sensor with a f1.8 lens. Thanks to the wide aperture, we get a lot of natural bokeh, that's the background blur, especially with subjects like these. The pictures themselves, they turned out sharp and the colors were punchy. We have AI scene detection on board and that tends to saturate the greens and blues quite a bit. There's a dedicated night mode included too. Now coming to the other cameras, there's a 13 megapixel wide angle option that takes some beautiful pictures, vivid colors and impressive detail levels. It's a great second camera since the wider perspective makes for some unique looking pictures. Speaking of unique, the Vivo Nex 3 has a super macro mode. The 13 megapixel ultrawide sensor can take photos like these. What I like about these photos is the fine details that have been brought out, like the tiny bumps on the lock. We'd never see them with our naked eyes. The third camera here is the telephoto option. So instead of digital, we now have optical zoom up to 2x. It can take some pretty cool looking shots like these. Of course, we get the regular portrait mode options too. The edge reduction is alright and the colors look natural. And since this is Vivo, there's a whole bunch of included beauty modes. We've explored them in depth in our camera review of the V17 Pro, so I'm not really gonna get into them again. But if you want more information, an in-depth look at that, here's a card to that video. Now as far as selfies go, there is a 16 megapixel shooter and there is a front-facing selfie flash as well. So how do these sample pictures look to you? Tell me in the comments below. So overall, the Nex 3 brings a lot to the table. The hardware is excellent, the design breathtaking, and the cameras are pretty good too. It is also supposed to come with 5G support out of the box, which means that's something we're probably not going to be seeing in India anytime soon. Now, given the Nex series is traditionally, like I said at the start of this video, it's traditionally been about pushing boundaries and trying out new things. Now, what do you feel about the Nex 3? Do you feel Vivo's gone ahead and done that here? Do you feel Vivo's pushed boundaries with the Nex 3? Let me know what your thoughts are about the Vivo Nex 3. Do you feel it's impressive? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. And if and when Vivo does bring this to India, what do you think would be a fair price? Again, you know where to comment. And with that, we get to the end of this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.